Welcome back, Flare community. I hope you're all well and having an incredible Tuesday. And, well, it's been a bit of a crazy week with the price action. But, yeah, in this stream, we're going to be listening into one of Hugo's ecosystem calls. Well, I don't think it's an ecosystem call. It's more to do with the latest announcement regarding onboarding up to 1.4 billion people from China into the stablecoin market exclusively on the Flare network. We've got Who's Crypto in the house. We've got Barbie Taylor and Jeb all the way from Norway. If we just scroll over here, yes, like I did say, the market is heating up. Could this be the start of the bull run? I certainly hope so. A lot of assets are doing pretty well. Let's have a quick peek at Flare. FLR here. Just outside of the top 100. Of course, it did actually make the top 100 for quite some time. So it has gone down a little bit. But if we look on the 7-day chart, you can see that it has gone up quite a bit in the last 7 days. Happy days. Hey, we've got Timmy in the house, Jimmy thing. If you are listening to this at a later date, I will timestamp the start of the conversation over on X, because we started a little bit early just to get everyone in here before the party starts. This is what we're going to be listening to. This is Flare Red Date, enabling regulated stablecoin access for offshore mainland China, or Chinese citizens. Pretty interesting stuff. Of course, we've got Hugo leading the conversation. We've also got Jihan Chu, who is the founder of Kinetic Capital. I believe this is an early investor. This company is an early investor in the Flare network. We've got Jifan He, who is the founder and a CEO of Red Date Technology. So I imagine he's going to be talking quite a bit. And we also have Sean Lee, the co-founder of IDE, something that I'm not actually familiar with. But it is going to be starting in about 5 minutes' time. Before we actually jump into that, I thought it might be good as a little bit of a precursor to read through the Flare Network's official statement or breaking news article here, which was released on the 8th of November, so 4 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. Let's give this a quick read before the spaces start, just to bring you up to speed in everything that we should be talking about today. So, Flare has partnered with Red Date Technology to introduce a never-before-seen decentralized identity KYC, known as Know Your Customer, initiative for mainland Chinese visitors in Hong Kong. Please note that this is a never-before-seen decentralized. So, never seen before. This is pretty good, and it's coming to the Flare network. The initiative consists of 2 different trials. So, these are trials. That's one important thing to note. The first trial enables anonymous registration of a regulated stablecoin app. The second trial facilitates the purchase of tokenized financial products with stablecoins. Both trials, powered by Flare and Red Date through China Real DID, will meet KYC or Know Your Customer compliance while maintaining user anonymity, alongside ZK-based anonymity. So ZK meaning zero knowledge. So this is how these applications can achieve anonymity. It's a bit of a tongue twister there. In other words, once legislation is enacted and production systems are in place, mainland Chinese visitors in Hong Kong would be able to use digital financial services without needing to expose personal identifiable information. So it's all about being able to allow or facilitate Chinese citizens to participate in this ecosystem without having to reveal their identity and their sensitive information. What is the significance of this partnership? The significance of this joint initiative lies in its broader applications for cryptocurrency regulation. Flare co-founder and Flare Labs CEO Hugo stated, "Flare exemplifies how blockchain can be deployed in regulated environments to solve real-world challenges." He emphasized the importance of demonstrating that compliance and privacy can coexist. He said, we are excited to lead the way in bringing decentralized solutions to new markets, particularly China, where the potential is unmatched. So for those who don't know, China is actually, I believe, the second biggest economy in the world now. It's recently been overtaken by India, but there are still 1.4 billion people that could potentially be exposed to this service. Hong Kong is currently poised to introduce regulations that will allow digital currencies on public blockchains. Once fully launched, this Know Your Customer solution will provide mainland Chinese visitors with their first opportunity to legally hold public chain wallets and transact with stablecoins such as HKDA, which is a fiat-backed Hong Kong dollar stablecoin issued by IDA. So that's who IDA is. We just referencing back here, IDA were joined by Sean Lee as well. IDA is this entity here that enables or custodies the Hong Kong dollar. So it's great to know. Let's just check the time real quick. We've got 2 minutes until it starts. I'm sure they'll be waiting over on FlareX for a couple of minutes to let people in so we can blitz through the rest of this document. How will this benefit Flare? That's probably the most important thing that we need to know. The groundbreaking Know Your Customer solution positions Flare as a leader in decentralized regulatory compliance solutions, offering significant benefits as it engages early in China's expanding regulated digital asset market. This early involvement secures a first-mover advantage, particularly given Hong Kong's strategic importance as a financial hub, where nearly 50 million annual visitors from mainland China contribute to over $10 billion to the local economy. This dynamic creates substantial potential for blockchain-based financial services. Additionally, as China's regulatory landscape evolves, there is a growing speculation about the reopening of digital asset market in Hong Kong under regulatory compliance. The trials align with China's long-term approach to blockchain integration, further enhancing Flare's position and enabling it to capitalize on emerging opportunities in this lucrative market. How does Flare enable this initiative? Well, Flare enables this initiative by providing a privacy-first, immutable, meaning that it cannot be changed, and secure blockchain environment that leverages its enshrined oracle, which is the FTSO. We've got the data connector, the Flare data connector, for seamless identity verification across blockchains. This decentralized approach offers a robust alternative to traditional centralized Know Your Customer systems, allowing users to maintain control over their personal data. Last but not least, once laws are in place and the systems are operational, mainland Chinese visitors can utilize their China Real DID to register wallets and access IDA-issued stablecoins like the Hong Kong dollar and other token-based financial products without the need to submit passports or bank statements. By minimizing the exposure of personal information, Flare enhances security and efficiency in both users and service providers. Very interesting stuff, and of course, Flare being the first mover on this, I guess, the penetration into the Chinese market. Let's have a quick look. It looks like we might be almost ready to start here. It is 1 o'clock UTC. Let's have a quick peek here. Yep, looks like they're setting up. We're listening in here and not saying anything just yet. We might as well just have a little chat before we start hearing anything. Of course, if you do want to follow this yourself on the Flare side of things, you can just follow them at Flare Networks. But it's honestly great to have you all here. I'll be in the chat, just sort of spinning my thoughts as well on what we hear discussed today. So, yeah, we're just waiting. I'm sure, it's normal etiquette for Spaces to just give it a couple of minutes before we get the show on the road. Let me just make sure that it's unmuted. Yep, no nothing coming out yet. All of these speakers are muted, so I'm sure we'll hear from them in just a second. We've got Slay Onyx in the house. Greetings, Flair family. Faber, hello, internet. Jimmy Thing as well. Good morning.
All right, I think we're seeing some people start to filter in. Good morning, everyone. This is Jahan from Kinetic. I think we're seeing a lot of people kind of coming in. I think we're waiting for Ifan to join as a speaker, and then I think we need to promote Sean. Hugo, can you see Sean as a speaker? Or whoever is hosting on the Flare side?
I can't see Sean yet. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I got a good crowd. This is exciting. Just bear with us while we get a few ducks in a row to get the spaces started.
Hey guys, you heard it there. Just a couple of minutes while they get people on stage. Who is they looking for? Sean here, Sean Lee, I believe. Can't see him in the chat just yet. But a lot of familiar faces here from the Flare community. Great to see people supporting here and listening in.
Already a speaker.
So, perfect.
Right, I'll leave you to it, guys.
Just wait for Sean.
Oh,
great.
Still waiting for Sean. But what I'm going to do now is just turn down the mic on my end, and we'll listen into this space and see what this is all about. I'm personally excited about this news. Again, if you do want to read the full document that we went over previously in your own leisure, you can find it on flare.network. So with that out of the way,
Sean,
let's get into it.
All right, Sean, if you can request speaker, we'll promote you. All right, I think Sean is still fixing a couple things, so we'll get started first. Well, welcome everybody. It looks like we've got a really great crowd today. Seeing people continue to filter in. Looks like we've got people from all over the Flare space, the kind of China and Hong Kong space, from the IDA space. Hopefully we've got a lot of people from Hong Kong and the West as well. So I'm Jahan. I'm the founder of Kinetic. Kinetic is fortunate to be an investor in both Flare, IDA, and rebate. So we've got the whole trifecta here. Really excited to bring portfolio companies together. And the conversation today, I think, is really one of some of the most exciting kind of developments in the Web3 space, bringing together interesting kind of concepts of both Web 2 and Web 3 technology, and attacking one of the really the holy grails of the Web 3 space, which is identity and identity verification. And in an age of AI, deep fakes, and everything that's kind of happening, I can't think of a single type of technology or concept which is more important to really start to solve as we kind of move forward in the Web3 space. So that's the backdrop, I think, for this spaces today. And what we're going to be talking about is a trial technology, a trial run that really brings together the real DID system, Flare protocol, and the IDA stablecoin, which brings all these technologies together. And the net effect, we hope, is a pathway to allow mainland Chinese citizens offshore, so offshore Chinese, to use stablecoins in a compliant way. So we're going to be talking to a number of people here, and the main guests today we have are Hugo Filion, who is the founder of Flare. We have Yifan He, who is the founder of rebate Technologies. And we have Sean Lee, who is the co-founder of IDA based in Hong Kong. So, big hearts and claps to welcome all of our guests. We're really excited to have all of their insights being shared with us. So, why don't I first just go around and have each of you just in a couple sentences kind of introduce yourself and your project, and then we'll get into the actual trial itself. So, in no particular order, Hugo, why don't you go first?
Thanks, xHaven. Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me well. Yes, I'm the co-founder of blockchain called Flare. Most of you on this call come from the Flare ecosystem, so you'll probably know me well. But for those of you that don't, Flare is building what we call the blockchain for data. We've embedded data protocols into the network, so they're secured at the network level and highly optimized to operate on the blockchain. And this is useful for things like pricing, for things like Web3 state, and for being able to get Web2 data onto chain. And that's where it interacts really nicely with things like identity services, which we'll be hearing about how rebate has is essentially trailblazed identity for mainland China.
Awesome. Thanks. Yifan?
Hi. My name is Yifan He, and I'm the CEO and the co-founder founder of Rebate Technology. We are a Hong Kong-based, Web3 infrastructure company. What I mean infrastructure is basically we're building blockchain infrastructure to support this kind of, non-crypto traditional industry to deploy these decentralized applications like payments, that kind of thing. Second thing we do is, building infrastructure for regulated digital currencies. For stablecoin regulated stablecoin banks tokenized deposit, building the system and also the infrastructure to connect all of them. And the third one is the infrastructure for identities, like the topic we will talk about today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And Sean?
Hello, thank you, xHaven. This is Sean Lee, co-founder of IDA, and we are a dedicated stablecoin business out of Hong Kong. Really glad to be working with the Red Day team and the Flare network, and very excited to be here today.
Great. So why don't we kind of start with just a quick frame, because I don't imagine that most of the people on this call really are familiar with this kind of trial that happened, this really kind of momentous trial. Yifan, would you mind to just give us an overview of what this trial was, how it all came together, and why you think it's important?
Okay, yeah. So first, I think for identity, I want to emphasize is the government ID. Okay, because sometimes in Web3 space, people don't really like government-related stuff. But I think the government ID is essential to everybody. I mean, if you go to Coinbase and Binance, if you don't have a government-issued photo ID, you couldn't even register. Okay, so that's why the government issued ID is super important. No matter it's Web2 or Web3. I mean, a link to your birth certificate. Okay, that's something you cannot refuse because you get burned, your parents get the certificate for you, then all your government ID link to that. So that's how everybody has a government issue ID unless you give up. So that's the first point I want to make. But the government ID is super, this kind of, basically government has everything of you. So that make everybody worry about, the government really, privacy issues, stuff like that. So in the traditional way, offline, you can use your photo ID, show it to somebody compares the picture, then verify it to you. But online, it always be very technically difficult to verify someone with their government issued identity online, which means you have to, without seeing you, and verify the name, the ID you gave to the websites and to the platforms, it's really belong to you. So that's actually, until today, it's actually very, very complicated and very, very, how to say that? Uh, I mean, even today, you go to any website to register, require KYC. Okay, online KYC. You basically need to take picture of your passport, your bank statement, of driver license. Take picture, upload to the website. The website basically keeps them for the rest of your life. Okay, that's all the time. So then they use those data to send to a government gateway. Usually goes through multiple intermediaries. Okay, all the intermediaries have your data. Then send to a government gateway. Then the government basically compares those data and give you an answer, yes or no. Then the
Yeah.
platform say, okay. So that's basically today's process. It's
Right.
I mean basically the multiple public, like 5 entities, private and public entity will have your data for in their centralized database.
Sure.
So
Sure.
yeah, that's why we have like the different privacy law in different jurisdictions. So that's why last year we worked with the Chinese government to basically build a technology we call real DID. So real DID basically is still the precondition for building that system is you have a government digital ID system. Okay, that's first thing. And how to use digital ID system, just like I said, you have to give all your data, they compare it within the database. But now what we build, what we call is a DID layer on top of that national digital ID. And with that layer, what we call is actually a anonymous layer. If any of you guys are technical, it's the technology actually super simple. Basically, what we do is build a DID layer. In the DID layer, each person can link a DID address to your national identity.
Sure.
And with that DID address, there's a DID document, okay, which is usually on chain. It's publicly available. And anybody knows the address, they can put that DID document. Inside the DID document, we basically put a public key into it, okay? But you hold the private key. So now, when you go to KYC yourself, prove you are a Chinese citizen, Hong Kong citizen, or Singapore citizen. So you basically just, go to an app and use your private key to make a signature. Probably
Yeah.
you even use like a
That's
MetaMask.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And the platform, basically, when they receive your private key signature, they actually go to pull the DID document. Remember, the public key in and who put the public key into it is the government. Verify
Okay.
you, and then they use the public key to verify the private key signature. Go through the KYC process, which means they can prove you are a legal citizen, no criminal record, and some basic, information without knowing any personal identification information.
Okay. Okay. We're
Yeah,
diving way down the rabbit hole here, and it's
yeah,
a whole lot of
yeah.
but it's important to kind of emphasize. I think that the validation and the relationship that this real DID technology has to the Chinese government and how central it is. This is not just some kind of aspirational. This is actually being used by the Chinese government for their DID system, right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
live.
It's
It's
live.
already
Amazing.
live. It's already live for 11 months. Yeah.
I mean, it's fair to say, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is probably the most advanced, blockchain-based identity technology in terms of traction with government, with the sovereign, right?
Yeah,
I
there's
can't
the
think of
only
anybody
one.
else that has.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
the only
India
one.
has a really advanced project, but it's not blockchain based. So this is really exciting. So let's kind of shift over to Flare. So how did Flare? What's Flare's relationship to this trial, and what's the relationship between like Red Date and Flare? Let's kind of go block by block here. Maybe Yifan, you just kind of want to give a frame around Flare's involvement in this
Okay.
trial.
Yeah. Sorry, when I focus on the technology, I forgot the last. So
Typical
basically,
engineer.
yeah. So basically, the trial we run in Hong Kong, it's first it's approved by the government. Okay, they want us to run the trials in Hong Kong from the
This is
central
this is the
government.
Hong Kong government or the Chinese government?
Chinese government,
Okay, wow.
because they really want to test the Chinese real DID.
And sorry, I missed it before. Which department in the Chinese government does all this sit under?
It's a Ministry of Public Security, so they
And what do
manage
they?
all the IDs. Yeah,
Oh, sorry, what does the Ministry of Public Security do?
it's police.
Okay, please. Fair enough. Okay, yeah, please continue.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the trial we want to try is how to use, because in past 2 years there's two laws passed in China. One is the personal data protection law, and another one is the data cross-border law. So which means Hong Kong is a very special area to China because it's one country, two systems. So when you cross border to Hong Kong, it considered to be cross-border. Okay, it's like a little bit foreign. So what we trying the trial basically is how Chinese citizen cross-border go to Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong when they register a business application, and they can verify themselves anonymously, but prove them a Chinese citizen. Okay, so what we
Wait.
call
So sorry. That's actually a really fascinating point. So they can register anonymously. So it's not like they're giving up their identity, but they can prove they're a Chinese citizen. So
yes,
they come to Hong Kong and they prove that they're a Chinese citizen, but they don't actually have to say, "Hey, I'm Yifan from China."
no, zero information
And
is supposed to.
what's the use case for that? I mean, why would a mainland visitor need to do that? What's the basic use case there?
So the trial we run is with Flare and IDA. So
Yeah.
because we believe in probably second quarter or third quarter next year, the Hong Kong will issue the stablecoin regulation, right? So IDA is one of the potential issuers there. But for stablecoin, Hong Kong stablecoin will be used to target retail. I think Sean can talk about more about this. Remember, in Hong Kong, there are 7 million people, but 50 million people from mainland every single year. So if the stablecoin for retail, they need to target Chinese mainland visitor. But because there's the cross-border data law, the privacy law, for a commercial entity in Hong Kong to save a lot of Chinese citizen data, it could cause trouble. It's even a liability to the stablecoin issuer. So, but the stablecoin regulation will require KYC. Okay, and it definitely is online KYC. Why? Because for it's not like bank, 50 million people waiting
Yeah.
online to open accounts. So it's online KYC. For online
Okay.
KYC, you cannot save data. So the DID, the real DID, is the only way. You don't need to save data. You can do the KYC, and Hong Kong government can always link to the central government of China. And if someone do a money laundering, you report the DID to the government. Government cause another government still can pull your data out of government database.
Wow.
So
Okay,
that's
that's amazing.
yeah.
That's
So
really
it's still
complicated. That's
KYC.
really complex.
Yeah.
So let's shift over to Hugo. Hugo, tell us about like your involvement in this trial, how it's been, how you see the potential for it, and what the impact is on Flare.
Yep. So we partnered with rebate, for this trial, and just to kind of set the scene of the trial. Essentially, a stable coin was issued on Flare, an IDA-based stable coin, to an individual using the rebate real DID connection. So the system allowed for the stablecoin to be issued, but only once the real DID system had approved that the person was who they say they are, and then that stablecoin went on to be used to purchase a tokenized financial product. So that was the test that happened on Flare. And I think from our perspective, there's as Yifan said, there's 50 million visitors from mainland China to Hong Kong per year. Between Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau, there's 77 million visitors, and globally, there's about 101 million trips out of China. At least in 2023, that's come down a bit since COVID, but creeping back up. And so for us and for Flare, the opportunity to partner with rebate and to work with IDA with regards to these regulated stablecoins, it's a huge angle for us to be able to get people from mainland China into the crypto ecosystem through Flare.
Yeah, and just to be clear, none of these stablecoins are regulated yet. They're all going to be candidates for stablecoin regulation because the regulation is still being developed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
maybe Yeah, so
That's
maybe
actually a great. Maybe
I'll
it's a good segue. It's a good segue over to Sean. Maybe Sean, you can tell
yeah.
us a bit more about IDA and how your involvement is in this, and how you see the potential for Hong Kong dollar stablecoins for mainland visitors.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, and thank you, Hugo and Yifan as well on kind of covering the basics there. I wanted to just reemphasize here, right? This is a technology trial. A lot of what we're doing here is to show the art of the possible from a technology perspective. Obviously, business as well as more importantly, regulation need to follow. And many of us that are living in Hong Kong realize the regulation is to be finalized, and hopefully, as Ivan and Flair and Hugo mentioned before, hopefully by next year. But a lot of this is you have to kind of look at what are you going to use these assets for, and who you're going to give them access to be completely compliant, not only here in Hong Kong based on the regulation, but more importantly based on the Chinese regulation as well. Again, I just want to kind of double emphasize that this is a technology trial to showcase what is the art of the possible. Now, the interesting thing though is that once the technology infrastructure have been put in place, then the opportunity can then be quite boundless. As we know, the Hong Kong government over the last 2.5 years now have been actively promoting that Hong Kong as a digital asset hub with various different regulation, both in terms of the virtual asset trading platforms as well as the stablecoin that will be hopefully finalized in the coming future. So the goal is then to be able to enable much more tokenized financial product, especially given the number of different examples that have been done over the last 18 to 24 months. So the opportunity here is to showcase that one, a decentralized identity solution that works very closely with the Chinese kind of registrar, or the I think it's called the Ministry of Public Service Security Services
Public
is in
security, yeah.
place. Public security, thank you, is in place. But at the same time, it is then be able to connect with regulated entities in Hong Kong who are offering these tokenized financial products to have an opportunity to connect under that guardrails, well, from a compliance and AML KYC perspective. So it's a very important first step. Again, to showcase the technical feasibility of how this can be done, and then obviously from that point on, then following the regulatory development and also following the continuous development from the Hong Kong government perspective, will then yield a lot more opportunity for all of us to explore in a compliant manner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really, I'm glad that you were highlighting, that this is a technology trial. Because the stablecoin regime is not out yet. But obviously from the real DID side, this is live technology. So really the trial here is to see how technologies in Hong Kong and the stablecoin technology can interoperate with this live official, kind of ID, real DID system in China. So that's great. Why don't we kind of move on to maybe a little bit more, dare I say, going a little bit deeper into the technical side. We don't want to go kind of too deep because I think we've got a very kind of mixed audience here. But coming back to you, Ifan, what, if any, what were the challenges, if any, in terms of bringing all of these three technologies together? I mean, this is kind of this technology trial. Was it smooth? I mean, what types of issues, if any, did you face or had to overcome, or was it really kind of smooth sailing from the technical side? And what do you think are the most important technical aspects that were proven out during this trial?
Okay. So, first, why we even have the trial? Sean is right. This is a trial for the feasibility of technology. So, because all the regulation come after technology, you need to have something, the new technology can do, then regulation come in and regulate the technology. So, for example, the European GDPR, law says, okay, if you register in a business platform, if you no longer, use that platform, you can ask them to delay all your personal data. That's the law. Why the law is that way is because for any platform, you need to give them your data in Web2. Okay, if 5 years ago they know we have this kind of anonymous KYC kind of technology, they probably the the law basically is okay. You cannot collect the data. You need to go through anonymous DID kind of process. So that's why the reason why we even have the trial is to prove to the governments, Hong Kong government and also central governments, the technology works. It's live, it's in production, and it works cross border and even between governments. Necessarily they can even pull the DID's true identity from the government database when someone breaks the law, right? So once we prove the whole thing, then the government can understand, put this into consideration. Because I really believe in 10 years, probably 15 years, even you go to a bank, you don't need to reveal who you are. Okay, because there's the KYC is still a government KYC, but the bank doesn't even know your true identity. Okay, it can happen. Okay, don't
That's the
yeah,
dream.
that's the I think it's probably 10 year to 15 year away. Okay, it's right here because we have the Web3 technology. But during the trial, I mean, the first thing is to convince the government even want to have this trial. So that took like 6 months. Okay, but I think why this trial is very unique. I think in a sense, kind of in the technical history, this trial will probably booked into the history. It's IDA is a stablecoin operator. Flare
Yeah,
is a layer one, and so you can consider IDA is a digital asset, digital currency company, right? Flare is a layer one company, and the Ready basically providing the access to the identity systems. So
got
so
it.
put
Got it.
them
Okay,
three together and seamlessly run this. I mean, Sean, Jihan, you wasn't there, right? Sean actually goes through the app on the big screen. How to register with the China Real ID. How to top up their wallet. Go through everything. Then the next trial is scan a barcode and buy something online. So
amazing,
so so
amazing.
I think very luckily I think you actually play a very played a very important role. First invest in all three companies and put all three of us together. So
Oh, let's appreciate that. So maybe Hugo, coming back to you, um, when you think about the kind of potential of Flare technology, I mean, Flare does so many different things. Um, I think acting as a layer one protocol in the beginning makes a lot of sense. How are you seeing Flare potentially being leveraged later on in these trials? And then also, what are there any other kind of technical aspects of like Flare's data connector, facilitating cross chain identity verification? Where do you see this going, from here?
Absolutely. So, I think, in this trial and the trial as it continues, our big objective is to integrate the BSN slash Real ID into the Flare data connector so that, that proof of identity can exist on chain and be used. That for us is absolutely huge. And then, as we roll out interoperability between Flare and other chains, be able to take that proof and allow it to be used on multiple other chains, not just from the China DID, but from other ID systems that either relate to the China Real DID or are available in Web2.
Got it. Very cool. Very cool. And Sean, coming back to you, I mean, thinking about like IDA and the HKDA stablecoin, who is it really designed for, and what, from your perspective, types of problems does IDA identify that can be solved with the HKDA?
Yeah, thank you, Jihan. So IDA is actually being built as a B2B business, right? So our counterparties will be institutions either regulated in Hong Kong or regulated elsewhere, where stablecoin as an infrastructure can then be able to facilitate economic trade between institutions and between jurisdictions. So that's what we build this business to do. Now, the criticality comes in then in terms of the role that not only IDA plays, but more importantly, the fact that IDA is set up as a Hong Kong business, and thereby Hong Kong having its role as the trading hub in and outside of China. So a lot of the conversations that we've been having with our partners to kind of evaluate the type of business that a stablecoin business in Hong Kong can build naturally lends towards either facilitating economic trade between regulated entities, but using stablecoin as an infrastructure, as well as facilitating investments, both outside investments into Hong Kong and inside investment, meaning from Hong Kong in mainland China under the regulated manner, to foreign assets as well. Now, a lot of these then play, again, like I mentioned before, play into the regulated kind of real world asset, especially leaning towards financial product that the government here is looking to promote with the institutional partners that are here in Hong Kong. So our business is actually quite simple. It's a stablecoin business. Stablecoin is being used both in terms of infrastructure for payment and settlement, but at the same time as an investment currency that is on chain to be able to acquire tokenized financial products that have been incubated and originated through regulated entities. So that's the business that we're in. It's a B2B business. And how our business partners interact with their own users, whether they happen to be yet another business or potentially retail, is entirely based on how their business model is run. But ours is a B2B format. So this notion of having AML and KYC that are being obligated based on the institutional partners that we're working with, and the flow can be demonstrated using innovative technology such as this, becomes a proof point that if the technology is feasible, then we need to make sure that from a compliance and regulatory perspective is also followed, and thereby then we can really open up a very large market that all of us can participate into.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And maybe just kind of backing out, even from a more general perspective, I think since you've kind of touched on the kind of Hong Kong side of it, how do you kind of see this whole trial like aligning with Hong Kong's regulatory approach to digital assets and blockchain technology? So zooming out a little bit.
Yeah. So again, I'll emphasize here, right? Like obviously, the Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China. We do have two separate systems, and there are very robust rules in place to manage how the users on both sides of the border can interact. Both from a usage and also more importantly from an investment perspective. So those rules are in place for a good reason, and those rules will continue to be in place. So whatever that we design from a technology perspective have to comply to those rules. I think the possibility is that if you zoom out from beyond Hong Kong and Hong Kong becoming the part of the Greater Bay Area, which is now being set up as one of the largest economic zones in the world, then the opportunity is massive, right?
Actually,
We're
can
already
you just
seeing.
just what exactly
Yeah.
is Greater Bay? Because I don't think everybody internationally knows what Greater Bay Area is, and it's pretty interesting as a template for Hong Kong being that kind of Greater Bay trial.
Yeah, so the Greater Bay Area is an economic zone, like I mentioned before. It comprises of 11 cities that are in the southern China region, including Hong Kong and Macau, which sits outside of mainland China, but are within the Greater Bay Area. And a lot of the policies that you have seen from our chief executive as well as from the government really highlights the transparency between how economic trade can be performed within the Greater Bay Area, and also special rules that can be applied as it relates to both personnel movement as well as monetary flow. Again, following the same existing rules that are in place, but giving the Greater Bay Area some flexibility to really do business to really promote that economic power. So that's what the Greater Bay Area is for. Now, one of the things that you've already seen is that the Chinese CBDC, this is the ECNY, is already being allowed through compliant channels to be used in Hong Kong. Now, still in limited scope and in restrictive manner, but the goal is to be able to allow for digital currencies that are being used in Hong Kong. This is more of the southbound
Sure.
type of activity. So obviously, a lot of what the potential then becomes could be some of these economic value can also be driven northbound as well. Now, obviously, we all understand that China has very tight capital control rules for all the right reasons. So even if it's northbound business, then it has to play by the same rules. But given the fact that there are now new possibilities, both from a data sharing perspective, data privacy perspective, and then obviously digital currency kind of monetary
Sure.
possibilities that are in place. These are these technical trials that essentially allows for that to be reimagined, and hopefully the regulatory environment can be complied with as well.
Okay. Hey, Yifan, back to you. I mean, I think you in particular have a really keen understanding of the policies in China, and clearly you've had a lot of dealings with the Hong Kong government, through BSN, et cetera. How do you see this potentially evolving? Like, what is your kind of aspiration for the next steps here? And where do you think 5 to 10 years out these types of trials eventually lead to? Like, what does the future look like if all goes well?
Okay, so first, I think there's two directions. So one is, the real DID will be, used where, in more general areas. Second one is the policy regarding mainland China and, Hong Kong in digital assets. Okay, that's definitely. So first, I want to just emphasize a little bit, what's the current situation. Okay, right now, Chinese mainland visitor go to Hong Kong, they can open a bank account, okay, pretty easily, but in person. Then they can open a Hong Kong Stock Exchange account, okay, which means as long as the money legally parked in Hong Kong, which each Chinese citizen has $50,000, they can legally bring cross-border every single year. And with the money legally in Hong Kong, and you can actually trade the Hong Kong stock, legally through a Hong Kong bank on Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So that's the current situation. But right now, it's illegal to register on a regulated crypto exchange. Okay, and we don't know if the HKMA will allow Chinese citizens to hold the stablecoin in their regulation. We are not 100% sure. I think, for retail, you need a Chinese citizen, but when we say the regulation, then we know what happens there. But I think in this direction, slowly, it's actually to the Chinese government, even to the Hong Kong government, it's no different as long as the crypto, industry, digital asset industry is highly regulated, just like the stock market. It's no difference, for like the stock and the digital asset industry. So personally, I think it makes sense probably in coming years. Right now the ban on the digital asset will be lifted, especially cryptocurrency will be lifted, and just like trading stocks, Chinese mainland visitor can come to Hong Kong, legally trades digital assets in Hong Kong under regulation. Okay, with the money legally transferred to Hong Kong. Okay, I think that's very pretty likely. And the second one is I truly believe in 10 years, even bank will use this kind of anonymous KYC, technology. Because we talk to some bank, we talk to some financial big, very large investment banks. Sometimes they don't even want to hold your identity. Okay, it's a liability to them. It's a high risk stuff, and they don't make money off your identity. So that's why if there's regulations, they don't need to maintain your identity, your personal information. Actually, they don't want. I mean, those business platform
Yeah,
yeah.
holding identity data, it's like a hot
Yes,
potato. I mean, it
exactly,
really is a
exactly.
liability. It's
Yeah,
it's extremely costly.
yeah,
It's extremely kind of difficult, and it opens up a lot of vulnerabilities when you have
exactly.
to be,
Yeah,
kind of maintain this
yeah,
compliance.
yeah. So that's why I say, for the digital asset market in Hong Kong, also this kind of anonymous KYC technology, in next 5 to 10 years, banks will use that eventually.
Got it. Got it. Cool. So I guess moving on here, one of the things that I think has come up is this whole idea of privacy. I mean, we're talking about, identity. I was actually really intrigued by something you said, Ifan, about this idea that visitors can come and like not have to give up their identity, but at the same time prove certain aspects of identity, like, hey, I'm a Chinese citizen. Or I mean, does that extend to things like other aspects of the ID stack, like could be age, or could be other types of things? And how do you see privacy in this context?
Yeah,
Because obviously privacy is so important to people.
yeah, of course. Actually, the real DID system is actually support a lot of features. Besides, you can verify yourself with anonymous private key signature with your public key, publicly accessible public key. That also the China Real DID can issue, this kind of verifiable credentials, VCs. So and it's definitely you need your private key to apply and let the government issue the VC. And in the VC, there's many templates. So you can actually, for example, if a business said, okay, I don't need who you are, but I need to make sure you are, adult. You are more than 18, older than 18, years old. So basically, you can go to the China DID official app. There's a VC template called proof of adulthood. Okay, you click on that, and basically it will generate a VC, and you can submit this VC to the business, and the business can verify the VC. First is this issued by the central government. The second one is issued for you, okay, and the second one is they can verify you are older than 18 without knowing your true age. So yeah,
Yep, yep, yep.
so this actually give you the choice what kind of information you want to relieve, not give them a standard government issued format contents of the information.
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah.
Okay. Um, One last question on for you, Ifan. I mean, why did why did you choose Flare? What was it about their technology, that kind of, I think, differentiated? I mean, is it the stack, or I mean, obviously they do a lot with oracles. I mean, do you see potential from that side moving forward, or what's the kind of special sauce in terms of this relationship?
Yeah, first, I think the positions, Flare differentiate itself is data. Okay, that's something, many chains is a crypto ecosystem, tokens. The Flare focus on the data. Okay, it actually much broader, the crypto is the data, identity is the data. So the data, second one is Flare focus on the interoperability and oracles, which means how connecting the data from different ecosystems. So that technology stack fits in the identity, because identity doesn't only apply to one ecosystem or one application. Especially for government ID, it's basically follow you the whole life unless you change country, right? Nationality. So it's then your identity need to cross different ecosystem, different blockchain ecosystem, different applications. So the emphasis of Flare fits in the bill. Yeah.
Got it. That's great. That's great. Hugo, how about from your perspective, like, where do you see it going from here? How do you want to how do you see, like, the kind of lessons from this tie up and this kind of trial potentially influencing or potentially kind of advancing everything that you want to achieve with Flare? Are there lessons for other ecosystems, for other jurisdictions, for other ways to apply this type of trial or this type of technology outside of the mainland Chinese context?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's been a very good trial so far, and obviously there are other aspects to the trial that we're working on with Red Date, and hopefully IDA will be involved. But I think the most interesting thing to me is so much of crypto is based around a philosophy of total decentralization. But what we've really seen lead to perhaps this bull market to an extent was the ETF listings. And this has given the ability to get a lot of, let's say, US, European retail money into the system. And I think it's very clear that the future of blockchain is going to be very much, yes, we are very keen on decentralization. Flare pretty much paramount among that. I mean, we're pretty much the only layer one to have built very, very decentralized data protocols. But I think that a large sort of part of the future is going to be how can we make peace with governments? How can we make sure that people are able to transact on blockchains whilst it being acceptable for for instance, with mainland China, with Hong Kong, with any other regulatory environment, so that we can have essentially a system whereby people can either enjoy full decentralization or the limits of decentralization that is imposed by their government. And that's where I think it's very interesting to be integrated with Red Date, their ID system, potentially other ID systems. I think, as xHaven has made very clear, ID has to be completely non-identifiable. So this is a very good and interesting aspect of the trial, and I think that can be applied to lots of other ID systems that are coming along.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, we're coming up to the top of the hour. Maybe one last question for everybody here, and then I'll wrap it up. This has been a really fruitful conversation. We've actually kind of dug pretty deep into the technology and the concepts, and each player's role in this. And but what do each of you want the listeners, the audience, from your respective Red Date, Flare, and ID audiences? What do you want everybody to kind of take away from the lessons or the potential or the vision from this trial? Yifan, maybe I'll start with you.
What I really want is everybody begin to understand this kind of technology exists. Also, because the first this kind of real ID anonymous KYC, real ID come from China, so everybody heard this like, okay, the Chinese government try to control more information. Actually, I want to emphasize this technology not only anonymous to the business side, which means they can verify who you are, or you are a Chinese citizen, legal citizen, but without knowing anything about you. Okay, but also this technology enabled when you show your identity, verify on the business side, the government have no idea where you use the identity for. It's actually two-way, street. Think about this DID. It's a little bit like your physical ID card. When you show your physical ID card to someone, the government doesn't know who you show it to. Okay, exactly the same thing. So this technology is not only protect your privacy on the business side, it also protects your identity, your activity of using your identity from the government. Because remember, for the Web 2 verification, the central database, when someone sending your data back to the government know where you use your identity. But they use this technology, the government has no idea where you use identity. It's a big jump, big leap into this. So please remember, this is not only to the business, it's also to the government. You are protecting yourself. This technology now exists.
Well, that's actually very kind of counterintuitive to what I think most people would imagine about the Chinese government
Yeah.
because of its centralization. But so really, the takeaway is actually this this technology actually is more private than one would expect, given it. So okay, great. And Hugo, how about you? What do you want the audiences to kind of take away from this trial, from this conversation?
I mean, I think I'd echo that point. I think it's I think I was trying to say earlier, I think it's a very nice model by which to achieve identity on chain. I think that can go a lot further. So I think this partnership has been very illuminating for us as to what's feasible with identity, especially when you bring it to government ID. I'd like to see it replicated in other areas. I'll certainly be, thinking about how it could potentially be, whether there's opportunities to replicate it in the GCC. And I think, the takeaway is that, Flare's data protocols are interesting to people with regards to being able to use this for real regulated business, not just very, very crypto-centric business.
Awesome. And Sean, over to you.
I will keep it short. I will like to kind of remind the audience that this is a technology trial. So we were trying to prove the technology, that the art of the possible from a technology perspective, but this is not live in that sense. So just want to make sure we emphasize that. And I think the simple point is that, those of us that have been in public blockchain protocol business for a while, know that we've always been talking about public permissionless network that are trustless, right? So that is a term that many of us in Web3 like to use. In this case, what we're looking to do is actually bring trust into a trustless or on top of a trustless system, right? And when you're dealing in regulated businesses and regulated financial products, obviously having that notion of trust is very important, and thereby providing the identity solution while preserving privacy is critically important. So this is a really good example of, again, from a technology perspective, bringing the notion of Web3 technologies, but sitting on top of real world use cases that hopefully one day can be demonstratable sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's great. That's really important. And again, I echo your kind of emphasis that this is just a trial, and I think that this trial has really shown so much potential. And I think it's amazing that Hong Kong is so advanced in so many ways, and I think that the regulators there have done a great job, especially HKMA and others, in really promoting Hong Kong as a venue for this kind of experimentation to try and really suss out what the real use cases and what the real valuable technologies will be in the next kind of generation, whether it's payments or stable coins or identities. So I think it's great that all of this stuff is happening under in that kind of Hong Kong environment. It's really incredible. For me, what I take away from it is, again, it's great to be working with such awesome founders like you guys, who are willing to kind of collaborate and really cross boundaries and cross borders to try and put things together. I'm super excited that a lot of the concepts that we've been talking about for the last decade about the potential and the promise of blockchain technology is really starting to get traction. I mean, I know we like to talk about this and all the different things and that are happening, especially now with the markets kind of lifting. But for me, I think just these fundamental kind of advances in how the technology can really be used to improve efficiency, to improve privacy, to improve interoperability, to improve, real people's actual lives. I feel like I'm seeing a bit of this today, especially with identity, because identity is such a foundational kind of building block, and if we can use this technology to open up potential interaction with stablecoins and maybe others for the mainland Chinese audience offshore, I think that's a huge step forward. So really excited about all of this. I want to thank Yifan He, Hugo Filian, and Sean Lee for taking time today to talk with us about the trial. And for all of you who are listening, please follow Yifan, Sean, and Hugo on Twitter, and stay tuned for more announcements and for more developments about where this trial goes and where their technology platforms go. So thank you very much, and I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jihan. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Hugo.
Well, there we have it, guys. I thought that was quite insightful. I think the main takeaways is, I think they emphasized it quite a bit at the end. This is just a trial. It's not necessarily live, but assuming all things go well, which I'm certainly hoping they do, maybe this will go into a live environment in the future. Yeah, it's a lot to take in, I guess. Enabling regulated stablecoin access for offshore mainland Chinese citizens. I thought it was a good conversation. I hope you did too. And again, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Of course, if there are any more spaces that are up and coming, I'll be sure to stream them again, because I think it's quite nice to just have the chat rolling for any questions and whatnot. But like I said, that is the stream. Do enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time,